Now take the previous one. Okay, this is the strong. Now take the previous one. Okay, this is the strong. Now take the previous one. This is the strong.
those are very on the spot. You can actually create those as you wish and simply jump in and do that. And we have a new participant who's come in. And let me see, I'm going to move you to table one. Those are very Dr. ARush. There you go. So you're in the table group now with all of the other participants so that you should be able to see and hear. I was mentioning word clouds, things like that. So if you wanted to kind of get a pulse check, in addition, we are incorporating in one of our upcoming releases the ability to co-instructors. If you wanted, and you had a very large group, as you were saying, probably you've got 45 students or something like that, you may want a TA or somebody to kind of be either working with the lecturer, or you're working with each individual table group, or vice versa. And that functionality is in process of being developed as I speak. You can, as the instructor, join tables and have those conversations, as I mentioned. You can also kind of listen in and peek to see what's taking place at the table at any time. I mentioned note taking. We do have the ability in upcoming releases for those to be synced. Discuss that. And then you can also share documents. Google Docs in an upcoming release will also allow that. So you can have people actively. You can also submit a document to each individual table, and they can be working with that content. So if you wanted a different part of an assignment to be sent to the table, so you could have that set up as well. Let's see. I am able to see feedback. I'll share my screen with you and actually share my instructor. What the instructor sees is an ongoing running keeping up, if you will, of what's actually taking place. If you'll click on the thumbs up and like smiley face there, you have a chance at any time. If I say, how do we feel about this topic? I've got a couple of folks who've done that now and noticed it changing. It's such a small group, one person is going to do that.
Yeah, I'm bringing it down to the rest.
Yeah. So Adam's going to give you a thumbs down, so it should go the other direction. You'll also notice the bow tie or the engaging symbol on the left-hand side next to my picture. That gives me an ongoing understanding of how students are interacting. You have the ability to configure that based on the rest of what those metrics for like speaking to each other at a table, looking on the content, interacting with the polls as they happen, and that does decay over time. So as the instructor, I notice I'm getting down into the red. I might want to do an impromptu question and say, how do we feel about this? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, where do we stand? And you can do that at any time. You'll notice I also have the ability to generate those quizzes here and polls. I can go and move people around. A lot of functionality from the instructor. This is a breakout window. I can move it around and have it over my slides if I wish on my screen. So it can unlock and actually move around the screen, so to speak. So I'm going to stop sharing at this point. We're back to my slides. Here. That way we can kind of get through the last of this. I want to make sure we at least cover the basics of all the functionality. So you should be seeing my slides. As I mentioned, that is exactly the way it would look. You can pull and actually take a look at a lot of different types of data based on the needs of the institution or the college, based on what your goals are from the instructor side. I get some nudges, as I mentioned. I can identify those folks who might not be participating.
How do you do that? Sorry, so we can see if they're not in the poll.
Yeah, I would, if you notice on the individual students at the table, you'll notice that, let's see if I can get back to it. You'll notice there's going to be an indicator kind of showing the respective level of interaction or engagement by individual students. So that gives me an understanding, if I've got a really active table, maybe I want to take 2 or 3 of the participants to that one and kind of push them out into those tables who might not be quite as active in that part. So let me go back and kind of wrap up the features, and I do want to highlight a couple of other things. We talked about hybrid classes. This is a study back from the 70s. Dan Avida, our CEO, really likes to highlight this because even though this was a study that was done a long time ago, using videotape instead. And I remember carrying around the big cameras. I'm kind of showing where I started my tech journey. What they found in a lot of supporting research since then that has tagged on and added to this body of knowledge is that the left-hand column is actually the students who were taking part in that lecture or that class live as it occurred. We've got some folks who watched it after the fact on their own in isolation, and they didn't do quite as well. And then likewise the video with not having somebody actually join there and talk about that. But the right-hand side really shows the power of having small groups come together. Even if a student doesn't participate live in the class as it occurs, they can join that class after the fact and perhaps have a watch party or something like that where they can socially interact and collaborate on the knowledge as they work with their peers. So it replicates something of that. If I walk by a classroom and your classroom, one of my friends was in there, I might join that class and sit down and start working and talking about it. So, and then lastly, one of the features that I really enjoy highlighting with people is the ability to share high quality video and those types of things. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm actually going to share a very high quality video with you. It doesn't route through the instructor's computer as it does in Zoom and some other platforms. So you have the ability to share content very, very easily. So I'm going to share a clip. This can be uploaded prior to the course, or you can actually enter a URL for a YouTube video or things like that. And you can actually play a video that is very, very high quality, which I'll do at this point. And what that allows you to do, and you may have noticed that your microphone muted when that occurred. We have that set up so that if an instructor is playing a video, they can play that. You'll notice it was very, very high quality. It doesn't route through my machine. It looks at your video settings and best formats that for the use on your machine. So from an equity standpoint, we're really nimble. You're only using a normal browser to access the class. So our barrier to entry for device is going to be very low on the student's part. We also have the capability for students to blur their backgrounds and a lot of other features that have been suggested to us, from working with students who might have lower bandwidth at their home, working on an older machine, those types of things. So I do want to pause and see if we have any questions at this moment. And you will have to unmute since it muted you as the video started. Your mute button is, if you'll, it should be a little microphone on the right hand side of your image. Unmute. I'll just unmute everyone to make sure that we have, if you have any questions. There we go. Did you have any questions, Bonnie?
Yeah. Just kind of like think about. So I would use this. Sorry for the extra faces. So I would use it. I'm just thinking like the tables are really helpful for discussions. And right now I've been using, my comparison is Zoom, and I've been using like the breakout rooms, and this is clearly much easier. Oh, I did have a question for you, and this is an odd one. The fact that they can screen capture and pull over the slides, I guess, is that always available to them?
Yes. It's shared presentation. By the way, I wouldn't call it slide. Shared presentation. You can annotate on the video. You can annotate on whatever. But yes, to answer your question, that's correct. And right now, it's at the individual level, and it'll eventually be at the table and the class level. If that makes sense.
Okay, because I always share the slides beforehand, but that would certainly be easier if I could just, at the time say, yeah, if you need it, just pull it over, kind of.
I know we're 2 minutes over. We're happy to stay. You're with your kids. The only request I'd offer you, if you did want to have another conversation next week about it, and just even a quick one, we're happy to do that because I know we're happy to stay, but again, I know
I'd
rather you go play with your
I
kids.
actually have another meeting that I have to run to, but this has been super helpful. So what is the plan right now? Like has this available, or they will have it, or do you know?
No, I mean,
Oh, go ahead, Adam,
I'll
please.
take that one. Yeah, so I've worked with Henrik and Dean Karls before with Trilogy, and so when we got here, Henrik's been great and a big supporter. The short answer is, if you want to run a class on it, there won't be a charge to doing that. If you want to pilot it,
and then very quickly, I already asked this: the recording feature, we can record the full lecture, but not the table discussions. Right?
That's the default. I would tell you there are some schools that will eventually make us do it, but not by default.
No, I mean, we just don't know what we're going to be doing next year, but we have to. The school is requiring us to record in case someone gets sick and can't attend. We need to be able to.
You can record in this, and remember, the people can come back and watch like a TiVo viewing party post class. So you don't need Panopto and Kaltura, if that makes sense.
Can I make it so that it's not available to them?
If you want, I mean, it's up to you. You control who and when gets
What
access.
they're asking for us now is that we record it, but they really they want the students to attend class. So they're asking that someone has to come with a doctor's note to get the recording. So
they want to record it so you have the ability to issue it on demand to who you want, not when you want, but know that it's in your system so that you can access it for nobody to actually use it, but for someone to maybe use it if they get approval. I get it.
You got it. I like control. Or that's what.
Oh yeah, I know. This is all about control and the cognitive load.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I got to run to another meeting.
Oh, you're welcome. So I'll follow up, Claudia, this week, if that's okay, and see if we can talk about that pilot use case and maybe get Henrik in the conversation as well.
And then very quickly, so if I wanted to pilot and have my students in it, they would just get a link to click on.
Yep. Well, LTI in a couple of weeks, it'll just be like in case you guys use Canvas, you click through. Yep, you click through. Now, this was an open room, by the way. You didn't need your SSO, but we'll use authentication because you don't want me in your room. You only want your students in your room.
And then also attendance. Would I be able to see when people entered and when people exited?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. You'll have the ability to actually take attendance through LTI, and then one of the features that we're also about to release is the ability to, if you'll notice, I'm going to highlight over Adam here. I can actually provide a lot of different things. I can raise his hand. I could be able to take attendance or provide a grade with him in some of our upcoming releases.
You know what would be super helpful, just because I know, so I'm looking at this screen. I assume when you're in the instructor, you see the students more, but what I've never really had the trouble with my big classes, I can't see all the students. And so if you could either make it so that we can see more, or even just have it noted if someone turned off their camera, something either
Tom, share your gallery. Tom, share your gallery a second. So
yeah.
Go up to 49. We can go up to 49, and depending on how large your computer is, I can go up to 90. We can go up to 100. We can do 100 if you want. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.
I'll talk soon. I'll be in touch, Claudia. Sarah and Dr. Aru, did you have any questions based on what we've talked about thus far? Can I add some additional information? And I don't know if we're still active. Sarah did say she was having to leave at one point. So,
hi,
Sarah.
Can you hear me? Hi.
I can. Yes. I'm well. How are you?
Great. So this is basically like my gallery that you would see everybody. This is the full gallery. I'm wondering, I have another meeting as well, but I'm wondering, I teach a course on business technology, and I'm wondering, can you guys come in and give a presentation, and then we can kind of use, is there a way to do that?
Yeah, I would be glad to do that, Sarah. If you've got, I'll to save you time right in the moment, I'll send you an email and see if we can coordinate on something like that.
Yeah, so let's do that, and then I'd love to have it, and then you can give it, and then we can even almost have our students be. It's possible for our students that we can see how I can get a real sense of how it is with the students.
You should. Yeah, The other thing I'd call out is if you speak with Henrik, Dan Avita, our CEO, actually did a walkthrough class with him. But if you want to give us some more information about how you think about it, we're happy to have a conversation and take part in it. And like you said, get feedback, because that's definitely what we're all about right now.
Yeah, and when would this? Could I test it out we're doing this now in demo mode, like you were talking about it with Claudia, that we can try it out in one of our classes?
Yeah, we're actually working with universities to actually deploy in fall. So there are some cases where we could continue to kind of do some pilot work or testing it out over the summer, between now and the summer, and then look towards a contract for fall classes and such.
I think the big thing for us about the pilot is just making sure we understand like why both sides are doing it and what the end game is. Because we've done about 7 demos now at the business school.
No, I don't know what our situation now is.
Oh yeah, but even for that one class, what I'm saying is for your use case, taking part of your class would be great. We'd love to do that. I'm just saying for a regular class to be run on the platform, it's a little bit different. That's all.
Started as a demo, and then we can proceed. We can proceed on. And now you're basically, how many schools are this is now in beta, or this is finished, this product, or what is this?
It's software. It'll never be finished, as Dan Avita said.
No.
We're feature full. We're live in over 50 universities, and we're moving out of pilot phase and into paid partnership phase.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering where it is. It's a great product. It seems like it's interesting that you're really getting it. And how does it work with now that we're required also to have Blackboard?
Yeah, so we integrate. Sorry, Tom, I don't mean to step on your toes.
It's okay. We're going to have direct LTI integration. So any of the standard LMSs, we will simply launch from within those courses. So students won't have somewhere else to go. They can launch and actually attend an Engageli class through their normal LMS.
So what are the challenges you're facing now, you feel? Both of you, your roles are different in the company. I guess Adam, what is your role?
Go ahead, Adam, please.
Yeah, so I'm a senior vice president of partnerships, and Tom leads our higher ed direct sales. So the answer is we're all in the partnerships team working together. And the biggest challenge is just making sure, I would tell you, tech fatigue is real, as you know. It's been a very challenging year for everyone. And so the first piece is you have to recognize that. But I would tell you the interest in the platform is really high across use cases beyond higher ed. And so our challenge is prioritizing, frankly, everyone wants to come into every class and do a demo and a walkthrough.
No.
But honestly, and that wasn't to be like that. Like the truth is making sure we're partnering with organizations who understand this is beta software, it'll get better, and it's live, and it's good. But ultimately, that's kind of the challenge, is finding the right people to start with as early adopters.
That's success stories, right?
Exactly.
Like any even physician, if he's going to do a research study, he wants you to succeed in his operation, right? He doesn't want you to fail. And especially now with the internet, you want to have good press. Are you also looking at it in terms of businesses too?
Of course, there's been no short. I mean, the truth is, we got to crawl before we walk and walk before we run. I got to have the LTI and be able to support you as a university.
But you're first starting off with universities. You're not doing it in parallel with organizations, or are you?
I mean, we chew gum and walk at the same time. But at the end of the day, we have our primary focus. Dan's wife, Daphne Kohler, professor from Stanford, as well as Serge, our CTO. So at the end of the day, the primary person that we're trying to support is the university faculty at this hour. But that doesn't mean that there aren't ways that we can continue to develop for other organizations.
Okay, because I can see. All right, great. Well, thank you very much. I need to go.
Have you done it with any municipalities? Have you done it with any municipalities? Sarah, can you translate my English, please?
Yeah, we have another.
No, that English is perfect. What do you mean that English is perfect, sir? I don't know what you're talking
Dr. Aru, I don't know that we've actually worked with a municipality at this point. But I think there are going to be some, as Adam was saying, there's going to be some very, very unique business cases for Engageli to fit in as well, because I think Zoom fatigue is, and I use that term, but it's all of those business conferencing platforms. They're not very well suited for a lot of things that not only higher ed institutions want to do, but governmental agencies and businesses as well.
So the answer for now is that you have not yet done it with any municipality worldwide web.
When you said municipality, Dr. Aru, I thought you meant.
Sarah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm working now with the city of Coral Gables. And I'm doing a number of technology seminars for the city of Coral Gables, helping. City of Coral Gables is a smart city. They're they won #1 in medium-sized cities there. So I'm working with the city of Coral Gables. As a matter of fact, that's why I need to leave this meeting, because I'm going to be giving a tech workshops for 3 weeks on how businesses can use technology. And basically now you can think about that. Bricks and mortar, they need to be online. So we're doing a lot of education. Plus the city of Coral Gables is becoming a smart city. So they have a number of community activities that they broadcast. They want to use, now they're using Zoom. So I'm thinking almost in this aspect.
The short answer is yes, we can definitely do it. I think it's about understanding, is it a workshop or is it a webinar? Because if it's a webinar, we're not a video conferencing tool, Sarah, and so you have to be careful introducing it, the quote unquote, the wrong way. But we agree fundamentally that as we grow, we will support town halls, PTA. I mean, I'm already talking to my local PTA about, can we support PTA meetings better? But those are things that are just more in the outside right now, I'd call it, in terms of.
You need to focus, I understand, and basically that higher ed kind of fits. And then I guess you can go further down, even to community colleges and also others. But I think it really works in a case study. You're basically working with, is this a good example that basically you can see the teams can work together? Is that, if you had to say it in a couple of sentences, what is the advantage over this for the traditional, the Kaltura and other ones? Would be more teamwork? Is that what you'd say? More case study?
Yeah, I think it, based on what you've seen at this point, I'm a former educator myself. If I have the ability to get a really good understanding of formative feedback, and I can listen to those conversations that students are having with each other, that's where that learning takes place. Traditional conferencing platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, and those types of things, they don't really afford the instructor the chance to actually have situations where that can occur easily. So we were purpose built for education for those reasons. It really is about the learning outcomes versus just the ability to speak to something, and that's really where Zoom and some of those systems they're created, and they were made for the business world. It was just a video call, and they've not really taken a good look at that, and that's where we come in. We are about the educational aspects of those interactions.
And when I see how active, it was nice, you had like the color coded of the tables, who was more active than others. Is that being recorded and that's putting into you have a grade system already built in?
You want to jump on that one?
Sarah, consider those configurable data points that over time we will capture. We're capturing a subset of those 70 points now. You're going to define engagement differently than the undergrad intro to chem class, than the exec ed class. And the 30-person class is different than the 100-person class. So bottom line is, we will capture it. Think of it as activity streams. Sophisticated universities want to just take the data into a data lake, a data warehouse, and do whatever they want with it. Other universities want us to do more of the visualization and the prompting with machine learning and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't want, we don't like talking about that because we're not there yet. Like, we gotta have more data.
I just wanted to know, right now, if we adopted this, let's say in the fall, or our school become partners, right now there's not the attendance. I would be taking attendance. I have an attendance. I have a grade book here. No.
Yeah, you have a shadow grade book. You have your own grade book in the LMS. Do you really want a grade book here? I'll give you a grade book.
I'm just trying to find out. I understand. I'm just trying to find out if this could be, later on, this could be a substitute for, later down in the road, this could be a substitute for the LMS itself,
Look at you, Sarah, we're not in 2025, Sarah. I have a ton of respect for Canvas and what they're up to, and we'll integrate with them. And you have 99 other problems for us. But yes, Sarah, in theory, I appreciate where
I just wanted to know where you were at, at this point. It makes
sense.
We are
ready to go. We're ready to go in the sense that when you
put our dev team is actually.
Can you integrate with site, with course site? Can you translate for me, Sarah?
You'll have a LTI that you'll be able to do courses. They have courses. They have that. Are you familiar? Blackboard also has courses.com, where you're able to set up a course
Course
And-
sites. Course
Course sites.
sites.
Yeah. Can
And
you
I'm not from, and so as long as it is a standard LTI integration, that is a capability that we.
This is a clone of Blackboard. Clone
Yeah,
of
so
Blackboard.
Yeah.
So as long as it has, Dr. Aru, as long as it has a standard LTI capability, as the LMS, all of the standard LMSs do, then we should and will be able to integrate with them.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your work and looking forward to have you basically use it. It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, as I mentioned to Claudia, I'll be in touch, Sarah, and with some of those specific use cases you might have. And Dr. Aru, if you would like to follow up as well, I'll send an email so that you have my contact information.
Okay,
I would
great.
be very interested. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I would be very interested in your respective use cases and how we might fit. And as Adam was mentioning, we are deploying with universities. We're looking for good partners to actually talk about the use cases, those types of things. I think from my own work, I'm a PhD student at the moment in learning technologies. I see a lot of application for this in research as well, and the ability to really get good data out of those student interactions that are taking place.
Yeah, no, I really see that is a key here, that you really can get better and better. And I really see once you did this, you can even identify different learning patterns of how certain students learn.
Exactly. And, engagement is, as Adam was saying also, that's going to be defined by the institution or by you as the faculty member moving forward, because looking at, I taught in K-12 for a while as well before getting into higher ed, and I mean, there are some things pedagogically that are similar, but there are each type of content and each curricular area has its own special needs. So we want to be flexible and nimble so that that's configurable by the university or by the college, that sort of thing. So.
Mm-hmm.
Do you expose your API?
Do we have API capabilities, Dr. Aru? Yes, we will have the ability potentially. That would be a technical thing that I would want to, have you communicate with our dev team or talk to them about to make sure. But we will be a standard cartridge, so to speak, with any of the standard systems.
Mm-hmm. So basically, like the testing, if I want to do any testing, that'll be done right now. That'll be through some kind of through back to our LMS through Blackboard.
If we did set up a use case for you or a pilot or a test case, as you say, we initially would want to work with you probably independently in an isolated, that way we've got you on your own server, that sort of thing. But we have LTI capabilities. We would also want to eventually work with University of Miami on a larger scale and make sure that we're turned on, so to speak, inside your LMS. Which LMS do you use? Blackboard, you said?
Yeah, we use Blackboard.
Okay, so we would want to make sure that Engageli is actually set up as an external solution that can be launched through the Blackboard courses, and that is definitely something we want to do. We're working in small cases to prove those concepts and make sure that we're set up before going larger within the university at large.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. But can I do I can do polling here. Can I give the students quizzes and it will score them, or?
It will. We have the capability for all of the standard LTI integration components of 1.3. So anything that's incorporated as the standard features that are past facts coming and going with the learning management system in LTI version 1.3, we will have those same capabilities.
So if teams are working in tables together, can I give like questions to the teams and they can respond and I get the responses back from each group?
That is a feature that is in process. We are working on the ability for you to provide individualized content to each table group as a document or as something that they would be working on independently. The grading components of that, my assumption would be that in that stream of development, we would have the ability to do individual grades early, group grades probably within some time period afterwards.
But right now, there's no, besides, there, I saw something where you saw someone with the sentiment. How is that done? Can you show me that?
A sentiment?
Didn't you have like the green of how active certain people were?
Yes, we do have the capability for, and I'll actually share that with you in slides. I'll go back here and show you that because it's easier than me showing you my dashboard. So with Engageli, you're going to have an indication for each student, and I'll start with this one. So based on the students' interactions with each other, and I apologize, I'm jumping around. So you'll notice here on each of the students' names, we've got a relative level of engagement. That is going to be dependent on what the criteria are that you decide upon as an institution or as a program. When that occurs, that allows me to potentially provide a grade. I believe I showed that I hovered over an individual student, and there's going to be the ability to do a lot of different things for individuals. I'm assuming also with tables, we would evolve into that. In addition to that indication that we have here of something of a measure of green, yellow, red, a progressive scale of respective engagement here, we have also the respective engagement level at that table. Yeah, in the future, and in one of our upcoming releases, we are also going to present it to you as an instructor as a web indication, because as you know, a table group may have one participant or one student who's extremely active, and then we got a bunch of folks who are kind of just tagging along. So we feel like this would be a good data point for us to continue to progress and be able to provide you as well. This functionality right here is not currently in Engageli, but the dev team is actually working towards this as one of the metrics that you'll have.
Mm-hmm. And will I have also transcription as well?
We are working on our full VPAT and compliance and those things right now. We will have full functionality for ADA compliance and text to speech or captioning, things of that nature as well.
Right, and you will, and then I guess I'll get the transcript as well. And then when students,
I'm not sure. I can't speak to that. I would assume that, you know, with your current things, platforms you're using, sometimes you're recording those and you're providing an SRT or a text file to make sure that you have your captioning perfect. It would be my understanding that we're looking at automatic captioning first,
right?
So that as a student is listening and watching, that those compliance issues are met initially. I would think that would be a good way for us to go. I will mention that to make sure that, you know, if a faculty member wanted a transcription of those interactions, that I don't see why that couldn't be done. That's probably.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
After the fact, sometimes they do it. You know, they do it
right
time, and then after the fact, you can get the
yeah. Since your class can be in Engageli can be recorded, I don't see a reason why, from a tech standpoint, that we could not work towards something like that in the future.
Yeah, I can really see when you're now getting your PhD, you almost can do your thesis on this.
Yeah, well, I would want to be very clear about the fact that I work for Engageli, but yes, the reason I came on board, and Dan Avita, our CEO, he is intentionally hiring people with an education background because he feels that we are an education company primarily. The tech comes with that, but people need to be able to speak to those use cases in teaching and learning. So that's the reason I stand before you today, is because I am very passionate. I think technology has the ability to, in terms of equity and all of the things that we really strive for as educators, to really change the paradigm for teaching and learning if we use it properly and if it's created purposefully for the use. So
yeah, no, it's adapted quite well. You just have to figure out how to go about implementing it. No, but it has a lot of possibilities here. And your ideas here is tables. Can you switch it around to another way to do things other than your number of tables you have are dependent on how you're going to arrange. I'm going to have 3 tables today, and in the middle, I can make 7 tables. I can create my own set.
You can increase the number of tables. You can set up assigned seating, so to speak. If you wanted to, every week when you're conducting that class repetitively, the students would come in and join. You can set it up so that for the first 10 minutes, they get to sit wherever they like with whomever they wish. And then when it comes time to begin the actual lesson, they would then move to their assigned seating. A lot of different functionality. It depends on, that's dependent on that curricular case in each instance.
So
What-
I
what
sit
is
with
the
my
integration? What is the integration with Zoom? Can you translate for me, sir?
Yeah, he was under. Are you now integrating it anyway with Zoom, or you consider them as?
No. Zoom is a great tool. It is a web conferencing system. So we are much more than that.
But you're not planning to integrate. So if somebody started a meeting with Zoom, could they then go into your platform? Or you see this as a substitute to Zoom? You're not doing any.
Well, no. We don't want to be Zoom. We aren't a substitute for Zoom. We're an educationally or an instructionally focused platform that can be an alternative for web conferencing, but so much more. We would actually be an alternative for several systems that you have within the university. If you no longer in the future would need a lecture capture system because the lecture and the class is actually being captured using Engageli. You no longer need Poll Anywhere or some of those feedback and assessment tools that you might currently be using. So there's a lot of different functionality that we incorporate that. So I don't believe we would integrate with Zoom. I don't see how. We want our students to be authenticated. You can send a Zoom link to anyone. But you may or may not know who that person is. So if you're launching an Engageli class through your LMS, you can be assured that the student that's taking part in that is authenticated and actually is the student that you're speaking with. So we want to be a little bit of a different, more educationally focused platform than just a web conferencing tool.
And what can you? You're substituting then the polls. I understand you're substituting basically the screen capture. What are you not at this point or planning not to capture?
Well, we and Adam kind of touched on this before he left. We don't want to be an LMS. That's not our goal. Our goal is to be an LMS is a great system and a great repository for content and a place for students to take quizzes, gain access to the materials for the course, things of that nature. So a lot of that can actually be done in synchronous sessions that could be, much like an interaction that the student would have in a real live classroom, face to face. And so what we want to be the best educational system for application in those online hybrid environments for teaching.
How about Panopto, a media site, and Echo 360? Can you please translate me, Sarah?
Yeah, so all those capture programs like
Panopto, Echo 360, media site, how do you integrate / compare with them?
I don't know if we have plans to integrate with other platforms such as those. Those have some similar features to what we do in some cases, Echo 360 being one. I think we're taking a different approach than them. I don't think there's really anybody out there that does, is doing what we're attempting to do.
What are the similarities or the differences? Can you cite specifics instead of just talking in general? Specific similarities or differences?
I would leave that to the institution to decide. I'm not an expert on 360, Echo 360. I've never used it personally in my own teaching, so I couldn't speak to that. I wouldn't know. I'm told that they have some features that are similar, but we I believe based on the things that we've integrated into Engageli and the roadmap that we have are very much different than the.
Have you used any lecture capture at all that you can cite?
Are you using lecture capture here you basically, after you finish this session, let's say this was your class, then the students play this back, or how is this done?
That is correct. We aren't a lecture capture system, but we have the capability to capture the course as it's being recorded. I can show you my screen here, and I'll share that functionality with you. So the things that get captured in Engageli are actually different in the respect that a lecture capture system like Panato or Kaltura is going to capture whatever is on the cameras, and those are great resources. But they are a static recording of what took place in that classroom or in that online course. We have the capability here. If you don't mind, Sarah, would you mind raising your hand?
Sure.
Okay. You'll notice that Sarah has come up to the podium. So if I'm recording this lecture, which I could do easily by clicking on the button, I would record all of the interactions that the instructor has. Anyone who comes up to the podium, as Sarah has raised her hand and done it this, all of that would be recorded. It would be a recording of that class session. That would then be recorded and be available to the students who could not participate live when it occurred. They can come in and they can join the class and they can listen to that lecture. One of the additional features that makes us unique is that if I conduct a poll or a quiz, we are in the process of also creating functionality that would allow that to stop or pause, such that the student who was not able to be there live, they get the same experience as they're watching the professor lecture and the students come up to the podium and talk. They then would also be prompted to take part in that poll or that quiz whenever they see it within the...
More interactive than just viewing it static.
Exactly. And that is really why I believe we're distinctly different than just a lecture capture system or just a web conferencing platform.
I like that.
Record to the cloud or record locally or both?
That depends, Dr. Aru. We are looking at both models. We are a cloud-based solution, meaning that we house those videos and we keep them on our servers. That's what we're doing currently. We are looking at the possibility of institutions hosting them for themselves as well. But we have not yet done that with the university. We're currently the cloud host for those.
And then this clips means what? So I see here you stop sharing. So you're sharing just your screen. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I shared the video with you previously. If you'll notice that when I clicked on clips, that gave me a pop-up here that allows me to either click on one of my preloaded videos that I've put into Engageli for my course, or I can actually paste in a URL for a YouTube video.
What's under more?
More gives me all of my functionality for annotation. I can set a timer. I can distribute documents to individual tables, things of that nature. So on your screen right now, you should see a 1-minute timer. So that if I said table groups, I'm going to give you another minute to wrap up on that conversation. And then I want one representative from each table to raise your hand so that you can come up and share out on what you discussed.
So I, as a student, Sarah Rushinick as a student, I could then share my screen or share my PowerPoint, something like that.
That is correct. If you look at the 3-dot button in the upper center section, you'll notice that you have the capability to share with your table group, or you can share with the class at large.
Share screen with the table, share screen with the class, view class gallery, show table mates gallery. That's basically seeing what they see. What is show table mates gallery?
That means just so that you can see the individuals at your table.
Okay. And flip videos means that I can see videos. It says flip videos.
That means if you would rather see, if you click on that, what you'll notice is I'm sharing screens. So you'll see the gallery and what I'm sharing in reverse. Some students prefer to, see something in the larger thing.
Right. Focusing on the professor rather than what you had before. And if I come back, how do I get back to where I was before?
You simply flip it again, or you would.
Flip video. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's nice. Yeah, it's really comprehensive. It's basically the classroom I think this. Are you going to schools of business first? I would think that schools of business would be really appreciative of this.
Yeah, we have actually, we've gotten a really, really strong response from business schools. College of Business, that sort of thing. But I don't think there is a curricular area where we would not work.
Mm-hmm. And what about like chemistry or like engineering, architecture?
Yeah, we've got a number of medical science and engineering programs also on board already.
I'm also, I wear a lot of different hats. I'm also in the School of Medicine here at the University of Miami in translational research. So what I'm teaching physicians, they're getting a master's degree in translational research. It means basically taking their research and turning it into products. They get a master's degree. So they don't do a dissertation, but they do grants, and they also do business plans. And I teach them in translational research, working with a number of physicians. So I think something like this would also work with them.
Yeah, and we are finding that not only Zoom burnout, but online burnout is a real problem right now. Because in my own coursework, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, in my own coursework, in my PhD program, I'm a little burned out because I meet for lecture for 2 or 3 hours in the evening, and I don't really have the opportunity to share unless I'm willing to share with everyone in the discussion. It is not very conducive to a collaborative engagement between me and my peers. So what we've done as a cadre, we have a Slack session.
Right.
So we're back channeling and talking about the learning as it's taking place. A good portion of what I learn occurs through socializing and talking through those things. So Zoom does not lend itself well to that type of situation, and none of the other conferencing systems do.
I have my students that are really doing it. They're using WhatsApp, and each of them make a WhatsApp group, right? And contact with each other, same idea.
Yeah, but we feel they shouldn't have to go somewhere else and use something else. So that's why Engageli can be that integrated ecosystem for the teaching and learning, between the student and the professor, and also with students and their table group peers and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How does it integrate with mobility, and is the communication wireless, wired? Does it support LAN? LAN, can you translate for me, Sarah?
Yeah, he's asking about how does it look mobile? I see it now on my desktop. How is this going to be on a mobile device?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll share with you and talk about that. Our mobile app is actually going to be released very shortly. And I'll show you what that looks like. Here we go. So we are going to have a standard iOS, Android type app for both platforms that will allow a student to do a good portion of the functionality. They should be able to, there we go. They should be able to watch a lecture or watch a class, interact in some of the primary functions, record themselves, interact, that sort of thing, access content. So I have not had visibility on that app yet. But that is coming in very short order.
Let me ask you another question here on hybrid class. So let's say I'm going to go to the class. I have half the students that are remote. So does every student in the class then open up their laptop and log in? Is that how that's going to work?
That is a great question. Thank you. That depends on the desire of the faculty member. So if I wanted to, I could have one person act in a table group with those folks who were joined remotely, and they could, interact with them directly. It could be everyone in the class. We have a patent pending feature that allows, for example, if I'm in your class physically and I want to start speaking, most hybrid systems have difficulty because the students who are joining online have a hard time hearing, because there are too many microphones in the room, things like that. So if I raise my hand in your course, in an Engageli course, and this feature that we've developed that is being patented, it will automatically mute all of the other microphones in the room while I'm speaking. So we're taking into account specifically those hybrid environments, because we feel like that's going to become something of the new norm when it comes to teaching and learning. You may have students who have medical problems. You may have faculty members who have medical problems that can't be there physically. There's no reason with the technology capabilities that we have within Engageli that those can't be high quality learning engagements between all concerned.
So when I'm looking at this, then I'll be able to see who's in the classroom versus who's remote. Is there a way when I look at this hybrid class screen here, I'm able to see that?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to because if there was a designator or something like that to show who's physically present versus online. I want to ask that question because if that doesn't exist, that would be a good data point for the professor to have.
It would be perfect to have, and then you could be looking at your screen. Let's say you're at, think about it this way. If you're the professor, you could be at home. You could even have a TA be at the campus. And then you want to see who attended, who's there with the TA and who's online. And then you may even want to set some tabletops with those physical. You may want those physical to be together and those remote to be, or you may want to switch them back and forth, have 3 and 3.
Yeah, and that's exactly the intent, Sarah, is to have that flexibility because that's just the world we live in now. You know, the ability for students to, there's an expectation by students, in fact, you know, the ability to kind of meld the virtual world and their physical existence together.
Just so you know.
What operating system is it running? Linux, Unix, Windows Server? And which version if they want to install it locally and test it? Hey, can you translate for me, please, Sarah?
Yes, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I'm not a technical expert in that regard. So I can.
You said that you need to install it on a server. What server do you need to install it on?
No, you misinterpreted.
No, Dr. Aru, you don't need to install it on a server. We host and we are a cloud-based solution. In the future, it is our intention with some universities, if they would like to have it installed in their system, we will look at those use cases and potentially do that at some point in the future.
You said for the pilot, you intend to install the pilot on the server, no?
No.
That's not it. What he's talking about, Dr. Ru, is you remember when we had Blackboard in the beginning, the university was able to host Blackboard. Right. So some universities may want to host it, but right now, this is a cloud-based, it's their cloud that they're doing. They're not doing anything individually. Just in the future, that may, if there's demands from the university saying, we want to host it on our own.
Have you done any pilot? Can you describe one pilot in details that you have actually done or you have been involved in or you have heard about?
We have dozens and dozens of pilots. I mentioned business use. I'm sorry.
Have you worked with any yourself in any of these schools?
I've only been on board for 2 weeks, so I am just coming up to speed with.
Bravo! Really, I should have a clapping. I should give you a motos or something. My satisfaction level.
Well, thank you. I'm an educator by trade. I am a very, very passionate ed tech and it is, as I mentioned, I truly believe that it is a game changer. To answer your question, Dr. Aru, we have pilots that are in business courses. We have them in science. I don't want to name drop institutions because I don't think that's fair. I wouldn't do that with you if we begin working with you. But we're working in almost every curricular area that you have within your institution in different roles. And that's not just here in the United States. We have some very large pilot programs set up with very large European schools at the moment that are coming online with us. We have a number of very large pilots that are taking place for some large conferences as well to show. We feel that, you know, if some of those events give us a good way to gain visibility and allow people to see. One of which that's upcoming that I can name drop is EDUCAUSE. We will be involved in the upcoming EDUCAUSE event. So if you see us, please join us and take a look at what we're doing there. As I mentioned, the CEO of Engageli is Dan Avita. He is one of the founders and board members for Coursera. Dr. Daphne Kohler is also one of our owners. You can look at our website and see the team that's actually here, and I'm so proud to be working for, because I have a lot of respect for what they've done over the last 25 to 30 years in some cases in regards to educational technology. We are the real deal. This is, in my opinion, the reason I left my previous job was because I didn't want to look back 10 years from now and say, I could have been a part of that.
You've been early on, right?
Yeah.
Right. And looking from the side, that's
Can
great.
you cite-
And your other question, Dr. Aru?
Can you cite any MOOC that is currently running that we could act as observers and see how it is used? Can you translate for me, please? Sarah.
We're not currently involved in any MOOCs at the moment, but obviously Coursera and the leadership team that we have feel very strongly about MOOCs and some of those coursework approaches. Your previous question about servers and where we are currently using AWS. We're using the Amazon system. Our primary server systems are on the East Coast currently. We've done testing that has allowed us to deploy. We are a global company. When we get together as an organization, we have people who are on every continent almost, except for Antarctica. So we're running through those, but we will have servers that are deployed strategically in each time zone and that sort of thing as we continue to expand. So
okay, great. So contact me, and then we can go.
Okay.
I'll contact Dr. Aru, and then we can set up a time. This is part of our research, just so you know, is in using technology. And before the pandemics, we were always looking at, in terms of education, the way to implement a hybrid approach. And I used to have such resistance. You know, I've been working at it in the past 20 years, and it just, the COVID just sped it up, and one of the things with my students, I used to have them look at collaboration tools. And once we started, one of the groups already had been using Zoom. So when we all had to go, online, our students said, "How did you know?" They thought I was a prophet. And I just said, no, it's not that.
Definitely. And those people who have been advocating, and I have been a very staunch supporter of EdTech deployed purposefully. I've seen a lot of churn over the last 20 years, and schools buy and then things fade away, and they're spending a lot of money, but we've not seen the needle move in terms of outcomes. So I feel like it needs to be educationally based. Just some other thing of the day is not the right way. It needs to be purposefully built, and that's why we're very, very receptive to input from you, from our partners. Because I mentioned, I wrote down your suggestion. I'm going to go and see if we can get that in the queue as well, because I think that the only way to do that, a lot of EdTech solutions, they simply create something and then they try to sell it to the education field. That's not what this should be. This should be a partnership. I would not be involved in this if I thought otherwise. I want to see the impact on learning outcomes that comes from this.
Is there a plugin for any environment? Are they acting as a plugin or a third-party developer? And what is the language, the development language? Is it C or what is it?
I would not know the answer to that, Dr. Aru. I'm not a developer, so my understanding is that we do in some cases use third-party plugins.
I'm asking if you are a third-party developer for any other environment. Do you know?
No. Do you take your program and use it with other programs that they can kind of be as an addition?
That would, again, I'm not sure I would even know what that means.
Like
so I don't think that
what it means that you appear as a line item on Blackboard or some other software as if you are a part of Blackboard. So when your instructor clicks on it, without having to go to your site and do anything else, your software will come into Blackboard and the instructor will have the illusion that you are part of
Okay.
Blackboard.
So yes, since we are an LTI integration, I'm familiar with setting up coursework in Canvas and some LMSs. The selection of an external tool in the Canvas LMS, for example, or some of those others, in our progression, it is my understanding that we will be something that's selected as an approved integration within those systems. We already have that LTI capability, and I'm not involved in those negotiations with the respective LMS vendors.
That'll be a given that when they have something like a Blackboard, they'll have it just like they can go from their Blackboard to Zoom, and then they can do their single sign-on. They'll be the same way. There'll be another LTI.
But right now, is the Canvas already working, or is it a plan for the future?
No, our LTI is functioning and ready to go. We are LTI integratable. So my understanding, again, not being the technical side of things, but it's my understanding LTI is functioning properly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So let's reach out, maybe have another conversation.
Awesome.
And I'll be happy to give you some feedback later on, because this is my area of research too. So I'm looking at it, and
I would be honored, Sarah.
I'd be honored too to work with you guys too.
And definitely, if you do have a case where and Adam was hesitant. He's careful with my time, obviously, but I will make the commitment. If you would like for me to speak, I would very much be keen to have student feedback. I'm assuming this is a grad program.
Yeah. Well, I'm teaching this semester. I have a class that I'm teaching technology, so you could even come in, and we could even set that up where we can break them out and get feedback. Because many times I always tell my students, I can learn from them too, because I'm not I'm being the professor right now in that role, and I'm not the student. And what is it? And that's what everybody's struggling is, how do you get that engagement? How do you get the engagement from the hybrid approach? How do you get the engagement? And even for ourselves, I've had a whole Zoom meeting starting from 8 o'clock this morning, one right after the other. And I'm just saying this when I'm neglecting one other meeting because this is so interesting, but I'm just telling you that it's how do you get engaged? And that is the key for anyone. How do you get engaged even with people you've been an educator, get engaged when you see them physically, but how do you get them engaged virtually is a challenge, but it also can be such a pleasure too. It can just enhance a number of people in so many different ways.
Yeah, and actually expands your capabilities as a program to increase enrollments. If folks whenever I was looking for my PhD program, I looked at a couple of things. Pedigree was one, ease of actual being able to attend virtually and such. So those are really things. I think that universities that differentiate themselves in that respect are going to quote unquote win the game. They're going to actually be the school that people want to go to. And University of Miami has an amazing brand. So if you have the capability to reach out to students who may not physically be around, geographically, I think that's a great thing as an institution.
Or even all the time. It's just that when you think we have our executive education. You live in Miami, but you have other things to do. You basically have other types of things, and why not do that? Even in family obligations, right? How many times do you are not able? You have just a sick child, even, right? And they're not that sick, but you're not going to want to leave them alone, right?
Right, and the capability to have a similar or even better experience by using Engageli is there. We've had a couple of instructors who've actually mentioned that they not only see us as an alternative, they see us as an improvement, because I had one professor that told me that he was only able to speak to 10 or 15 students in a given lecture, in a lecture hall during a 90-minute lecture. That's right. So he might only interact with a handful of people. Here, he's got the capability to interact with everyone. He can jump around and actually speak to those folks, and then the TAs can do the same thing. So it's in many cases, from an educational standpoint, this has the capability of actually improving those.
Because that's how I'm doing it now with Zoom. I have a class now of 50, and we're doing group work, they're actually coming up with businesses using technology. They're doing apps, it's basically almost like a Shark Tank, but basically I want them to do activities that they can do that can actually be a business. For instance, tutoring or matching interns to employers, not coming up with, I'm going to be the next Uber, right? And but the only way that I can do it is I put them into breakout rooms. They can assign themselves in breakout rooms, but I then and my TAs go to the individual breakout rooms to work with them. It works, but then it's so isolating coming back and so forth. So how would that work, that scenario? What would be the advantage of your system over what I'm doing now?
I would say that you've seen what the table groupings look like here, the functionality that the professor has to control those. So in your case, if you had that Shark Tank environment where they're working as a group on a particular project, in some cases, we're actually working with a computer science program where what they're doing is they're looking at cybersecurity. And so each topic that's highly impactful in cybersecurity, they've got a table that's dedicated to that. And that group is hashing through that. And then all of a sudden, what they'll do is they'll go back to a different table configuration, and one person from each of the original groups is now mixed with one person from each of the others. And then they get a chance to go into in-depth with those other groups and build that again. And then all of a sudden, the TA will pop in, or what we call or even one of the students for that matter, will jump into the table and say, here's a scenario that has just occurred, in cybersecurity. How would this team work with that, or how would you deal with that? So the same sort of thing can be done, from a technology design and development and product development. You could throw curveballs at them. You would have to do that in Zoom, for example, by creating those breakouts and then bringing them back, or then you would join. And you've experienced what that is. It's very tedious to do that. I can actually listen in as the professor. If I had 5 table groups here of 5 people each, I could actually go and then intentionally listen to that conversation for a little bit, maybe join the class, talk to them, and jump back out. The TA could be doing that as well. So
so I can just hover over that table and listen to the conversation without joining?
Yes, ma'am. I'll show you what that looks like. So if I share screen.
I think really in your presentation, these I think you really should emphasize, because I think a number of faculty are using these breakout rooms, in that sense of how is this different than a breakout? I know you don't want to just say how we're different from Zoom, but the idea is how is this going to be? Okay, this is what you see.
This is what I see. So I can see that at table 1, I've got all of these participants. So
we're all in table 1. Got it. Yeah.
That's correct. Now we have 3 participants who have exited the room. They're not currently physically in the conversation, but Dr. Aru is here and you are here as well. I have the ability.
I'm grayed out because, why do I have a gray? Because I'm speaking now, or why am I in gray? Why do I have a gray?
I'm not sure what that indicator. I think that's your level of it.
That's me. Maybe that tells me that that's me. I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, that is your respective level of engagement at the moment.
Okay.
So you haven't. If you'll notice here, I've not asked anyone to click on anything or do anything at this stage. So you'll notice my engagement level is way down. But when I hover over the table group, and these can be named, so I could actually call this product. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I could actually make this, if you wanted these to be different elements of that design process, you could have them set up that way. You can name these as you wish. I have the ability to peek in and actually listen to what's taking place at the table, or I can join. So when I join, I'm now seated at your table. On the right-hand side, you should see me seated with you and your peers.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So what happens when I do that? That would be just as if I had been walking around the room physically and I sat down and I had a conversation with this group. When I'm having that conversation, what happens to all other students? They can no longer hear me. What they will get if they try to raise their hand or they need the instructor, they're going to get an indication that says the instructor is speaking with a table. Please raise your hand if you'd like assistance. And then if I wish, I can quit now, and now I'm back on my podium as the instructor, and I've left that table.
So what am I seeing when I say peek? You see that when you hover over table 1, when you're peeking, what are you getting?
You lost.
Lost.
Table.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got
And I
lost.
see somebody at that table has now raised their hand.
Yeah, I raised my hand. What do you see when you peek?
You don't see anything, you just hear them.
Oh, you hear the students.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
peek, I don't see your face anymore. Okay.
Right, and you actually raised your hand, Sarah, so you'll notice that your feedback for me has turned green. That
Okay.
means that you've actually and you'll notice that on my wheel for the table, if you will, I can see that that table's become more active here in the last.
Okay. Right. Okay. We got okay. So the peek means, so that's a nice advantage. You know, I'm just giving you some. And what is this? What am I seeing?
This
here?
is the gallery view.
Where and the gallery view, all the students can see it, or this is your backhand?
Yeah, if you reach up to the 3 dots, you'll be able to see gallery view. That could be an option if you want to see everyone who's in the entire class.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But this is just my feedback to you. I just can't help it, right? Because it's like, you really should emphasize this, show your end of your tables. Because when I first thought about it, I said, oh, this is just breakout rooms, but they have a pretty table, you know, it's like configured nicely, but it's the exact same thing that I do, that I go into each breakout room. I really need it because I really see that I'm working with those teams, you know, even though, and then we come back, you know, that and then we'll talk general. I say, I'll give you, you know, a half hour, I'll do it. My TAs will come in, but many times I love that idea of peeking in.
Yeah.
Rather than joining, so I can see the whole group, and then I can even send out my TAs and say, you know what, group 3 really needs some work, and I know I need to go into group 4 more.
Yeah, and our instructors, I mentioned the co-instructure functionality, which is coming. Our vision for that is to have different levels of, if you will, control of particular grading aspects or things like that, just as you would within an LMS environment. So co-instructors would, you know, obviously be able to do most all of the same functions. TAs would be able to facilitate, or some professors we work with want the TA to actually lead the lecture while they're walking around and talking to table groups, and vice versa. So,
you can reverse roles, and that's another problem with Zoom. Is many times I want the students to take control of Zoom, and then it has to be me, you know, that has a lot of the controls that they need to work on that of who gets more, you know, controls. Okay.
Yeah. And I do have functionality or control over what the students can and can't do at any time. So whether it were the instructor or a TA. So for example, I use my Kiwi. I lived in New Zealand for 2 years. I use my Kiwi for this. If you'll notice, whenever I click on this student, I have lots of different things that I can do with them. I can actually stop their video with, you know, if they're sharing and I see that they may be sharing something inappropriate, I can immediately turn them off and kind of lock them down. I can also move them to a special gallery so that if I wanted to, I've got some, maybe I need to have a one-on-one conversation. I can either tell them, go to table 7, I'll join you, we need to have a chat, you know, or I can move them there if I wish. In one of our future development releases, what we're going to also have on this drop down is the ability to grade the student or take attendance or do things of that nature. So there are lots of different ways that we've been told, and every conversation that we have, that feedback goes back to our dev team, and they start looking at that and looking where they want to prioritize.
I want to put something out there to get even people's reactions. You know, why put in features that nobody needs or nobody? You have to prioritize too. You have to get it out too. You know, it's just like anything else.
What is the messaging? The messaging is audio, video, text only?
where you can post it?
Messaging,
When you
the
when you
messaging
when you pull
for
down
notifications, Dr.
when you
Aru?
pull down the menu just now, one of the item was messaging. Pull down the menu that you just pulled
Very
down
good question. So
from the podium. You have an item that is called messaging. Is it
yes,
text, audio, video, all of the above?
and yes, it is a part of our chat system. So if I wanted to send you a message, I've clicked on your icon here. I can send you an individual private message through the chat. If you look at here underneath me, the 4 things that we discussed, chat is right here.
Mhm.
So in the chat function, you have the ability to speak to other students privately. You can talk to the table groups, or you can talk to everyone within the class.
But
So
talking,
the
talking
messaging that
is talking text only? Is it audio only? Is it video and audio?
so if you'll
The
click
chat.
on this button right here, Dr. Aru, it is text-based. It is much like a messaging system would be if I were looking at the chat on any of a normal conferencing system.
Thank you.
And Sarah has actually, she's typed in and sent one of those messages to everyone. So if you look at this field, you should see a message that Sarah has typed the word hello.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to ask, if a student wanted to ask you a question as the professor, they could message you independently or directly, or they could ask their table group, but they would probably do that in most cases via voice. They're sitting at the table. I will mention, I think you joined us after I had this conversation. The Q&A persists. It's a part of the recording. The messaging, though, it decays. Those are private interactions at the table, so we don't capture those. That is we feel like that would enable a more genuine conversation on the part of the students, and so we've intentionally set it up so that if you want it to be a part of the record, it comes in as a question and answer back and forth. If it's just dialogue, then that does not persist in the recording.
And the notes here are the notes, individual notes that I can take.
Yes, ma'am.
And
So in the
it's only
in the
mine.
notes,
I can save it.
you can save it once you've annotated and done the things you wish with it. It is exportable. So if you create a note or a set of notes during the lecture, you have the ability to export those, and those come out as a docx file, so that additional work could be undertaken with them.
Oh, and then I also can take a screenshot too. I see.
Exactly.
That's a nice feature with the notes.
Yeah,
on
and
it.
what we've found and see, and I don't know if you can see that, but I can now see that you actually were taking notes because my engagement meter has come up a little bit.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's great. So I'm saying my notes here, and I like it because it gives the time too.
Yeah, and in an upcoming release, not only will those be notes that are available to the student, but they will be hyperlinked into the recorded video. So that if Dr. Aru, I were in your class and I took a note and annotated it at 5 minutes into the lecture, if I clicked on that and I was watching the recording while I did that, it would take me to that spot in the video so that I could see and hear what was taking place. So I have the context of why I took that note. And that, to be clear, that functionality is in process of being developed. It is not ready for release.
And then you can even think about it also, that note actually taking me, I wouldn't have to look at the 2-hour lecture. I could just go to certain points that were important to it.
That's correct.
And then if you had PowerPoints, your PowerPoints will be attached to this, or your PowerPoints would just be embedded into the screen. So if you had additional PowerPoints, how would that be?
Great question. Anything that's being shown and visible, the instructor and the sharing that occurs, and anyone who comes to the podium by raising their hand, that is all captured. We don't currently have the ability for you to share your slides through Engageli, but if we're launching from Blackboard, that's a much better repository for a set of slides or something as well.
You mean in terms of getting the set of slides for the students, but you shared your slides when you were giving to us so we could see those, but we just couldn't get the deck. We would go to Blackboard to get the deck. Is that it?
Right, and what I've seen in that case is, since most instructors will post that as a part of the materials for that unit or that module within the LMS. Those are available to the student. However, it's in my own experience as a student, I find it very tedious if I'm trying to watch the slides myself. So the ability that Engageli has to share those just as you could with any screen sharing feature, but my ability to take notes. What happens whenever I'm watching content that a professor is sharing? What I'm doing in many cases is I'm doing screen grabs because I want that. I want that information so that I can do that. We give all of that functionality and the ability to annotate it without having to use something else as well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good. I really liked it with that peak, and you told me about with the tables. I think that's really something that makes it more clear for me is how is that work, you know, in the future. It'd be great to see, and that can even be more developed as you use it, as you see people how they're using it. I'm sure more features will appear.
Yeah, well, and to give you an example, Dan Avito was actually doing a demo with a group of faculty about 2 weeks ago, just as I was coming on board. And one of the suggestions was that equity component where they wanted, so for example, if I feel self-conscious as a student, I want to be able to blur my background. And that suggestion was made. Dan took that to our development team and said, we need this. How quickly can we get this? I feel that's an important feature that we need to have. The dev team said it'll probably take us 2 or 3 weeks to create that and implement it. They had it working the next day. So that is now a feature that is incorporated. It's not currently in the I'm using an older version.
Yeah,
I'm using an older version with you right at the moment.
But at that time, meaning just like in Teams or in any of the other ones that you can chat. I'm sure later on they can do the same thing where for branding, right? The professors like to put in, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'll share screen. I do know a bit about that roadmap. So for example, in the coursework area and stuff like that, instead of seeing things that show about Engageli or that sort of thing, the branding components can, it's my understanding that those will eventually be brandable, you know, for the university as well.
Or not even the university, you know how I'm even using Zoom. Everybody, you know how it is, everybody just takes another background. You can put a picture of your own.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. That has been suggested, but from the standpoint of where it stands, I don't know where it's at in our timeline for
right. So right now it's going to be fuzzy. So instead of seeing your shelves behind you, it'll just be blurred out. Is that what? But I'll still see your face.
Correct. Yeah, and it does a really good job. The functionality is already in place in the most recent version.
And well, I was just at another conference that I presented on machine learning and AI, and they used a number of avatars. They had like a gaming conference, and everybody was an avatar. And I still feel that this is so much better to actually see people. And it was so.
Which, if you don't mind me asking, Dr. Rushanek, which conference was that? My wife also presents at a number of those conferences. So
this is called IT Palooza. It was just this week.
Okay.
And it was,
I'm not sure she went to that one, but
and it was IT Palooza, and I was in the section of machine learning and artificial intelligence, and they had a day before. I've been in a lot of conferences where I'm talking about different ways of technology, and it's interesting. In this one, we had a happy hour the day before just to get familiar as speakers. How do you get into the different rooms? You know, how is it work? And you know, they were trying to get the bugs out of it because, you know, until you registered, you didn't realize, you know, what code you needed and who you were. And then with your avatar, you could put in like your LinkedIn, and you could then do private chats with one another. So it was interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's been intriguing to me to see how educators are you know, dealing with the moment we're in, you know, to try and look at some of those virtual alternatives.
Right, and I've been to I've been keynotes and so many of these conferences, and everybody's using different conferencing systems, you know, from CES that I've been to others, and what needs to be pre-recorded, what needs to be live, and there's still, you want that personal interaction. That's what people
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's been lost a lot over the last year. With the way I'm a people person, I like to get on the ground at a conference. We'll probably never do booths or anything like that because we're more about having the conversations with people than that. And I think that's the power. I don't like the idea of selling. I like the idea of showing the value, partnering with organizations and doing that.
Well, in that way it is selling because you want to really see, you definitely, if you want to be in, if you still want to continue with this business, they have to sell. But the idea is you're helping them, right? It's just in a way that you just don't want to be a salesman. No matter what anybody says to you, you say yes. And then, one of two things, either they don't know what they're talking about or they're lying to me. So in that case, really don't take it as a pejorative. You should say you're selling, but you're selling by educating, So
No, that's good. Yeah, I believe that the longer term partnership between the institution and to be honest, this is a personal note, but I would, when I say I'm not a sales type person, I wouldn't be able to represent something that I didn't think actually was going to dramatically improve learning.
But that's why it's a matter of trust. And what is your wife? Is she a part of the company or?
No, she's co-founder for an instructional design firm called iDesign. So her name is Dr. Whitney Kilgore, and she actually co-founded they do instructional design for universities all over the country, all over the world for that matter. And they work extensively in trying to improve those programs that they serve. So we're all about all we talk about is ed tech in this.
Ed tech, right? Well, it got a boost. Even though we're complaining about that COVID, it gave a boost to really ed tech in that whole way that it boosted them 10 years ahead. How long I've been talking to I've been also in the medical school, how long I've been talking for them to get more involved in telemedicine and to do things remotely. And it was, I was pounding on doors and now all of a sudden they were stuck, and because of reimbursement, they started reimbursing and the same thing. We're talking about so many different occupations. Why not do it hybrid,
Yeah, well, and Whitney was just featured in Inside Higher Ed. They did an article on her.
Maybe
I'm sorry.
Send me the article.
I can do that. Yeah. And really, they were. Josh Kim was actually asking her, what she sees for the future, and she is something of a crystal ball teller about things. So it's interesting. So she was very honored to be in that.
That's interesting because really send her my message because I'm also quite active in the women in tech, international, and I was live.
She is as well. Would it be okay for me to put you in contact with her?
Yes, please. She Witty, because I was just at the founder of Witty. She had a birthday. She was 80 years old. I just attended this. So please, because her name sounds familiar.
I will do it.
Please,
I will do that. And I believe in that machine learning space, is it Ellen Wagner is involved in that conversation as well?
Yeah, a lot of people, and this is also going to be, you got a good group here behind this company too to start doing machine learning and use machine learning where it fits, use the artificial intelligence where it fits. And there's not going to be a substitution for you, but then you can do more of that engagement with people, and the other end you can deal with.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really one of our main purposes is to empower the faculty member to do more with the students and maybe see better successes for the learners with no, in fact, less effort, from a tech standpoint.
And you'll see also learner styles, where some people really need to be engaged in different ways. That's what I'm struggling with now. I think the big part is that student engagement, and it's different personalities of what they're engaged in, what they're interested in. You can make it almost like personalized medicine. You can think about it as personalized education. That needs to be changed.
Yeah, and that's powerful because especially I could not agree more. I think that, you know, I started off in K-12 education. So I look back at those interactions I had with my 9 and 10-year-olds. I taught 4th and 5th grade when I first started. And I gained more by walking around and listening to the conversations that the students were having with each other about what their needs were than anything I could have done from an assessment standpoint. So, you know, I think from, you know, that standpoint, we actually have the ability to replicate some of the really high yield interactions here within our system. So that's the thing that excites me most is the chance to do things.
I agree. I think there's so many avenues you can pursue, and having that team behind you, you can start giving them instructions of what works, and then they can implement it. You have a rich team behind you. That's what I like. I looked at the company and it was impressive that it wasn't just, you know, 1 or 2 people and other people just a fly by night, don't care. See that this.
They scare me because I'm just lucky they keep me around so far. So I'm hoping I can keep them.
How did you get in touch with them?
I'm sorry?
How did you find out about them? How did you get in touch with them?
Strangely enough, I was working for a really great ed tech company. I had gone into the ed tech side. My wife found out about Engageli and she said, "Oh my gosh, you have to see this."
Okay.
And so I basically chased down the CEO and harassed him until he decided that he was going to let me come on board. So, but it was
that you're eager too. You know what I mean? That you're just not standing by. No, because I was wondering on that. That's why I thought maybe I was involved in some way. Yeah.
No, I keep a very good.
Or too. You never know.
Yeah, Whitney and I keep a good pulse on what's out there from an ed tech standpoint, and I listen to her because she has called so many up and coming products as they've come up, and she picks the winners like nobody I've ever seen. So because she's so passionate about it and she's so informed, when she said this is a company that is absolutely going to radically change the way folks are doing things, I listened to her and I said, okay. And as soon as I saw it, I knew she was right.
No, I think she's on it, but you know, it's almost those window of opportunities too, because always not the best product succeeds. You have to pick the right timing. You have to have, you know it too. You've been so involved where you saw some product and it was really much better than another product that really gained market share. So there's a number.
I always use the beta tape and the VHS as an example.
No, but there's more, and when you see it, you know, even when you think about, you know, even I used to be involved a lot with Microsoft and Microsoft Research, and I used to see many years ago, Bill Gates was on stage and he was with his phone, and he was with, I still remember it, with Scandinavian Airlines, and he says, you know what's going to be in the future, that you'll be able, before your trip, you'll be able to see what the traffic is, and we're setting our phone with Scandinavian Airlines, and you'll be able to have your boarding pass on your phone, and everybody goes, wow, and look what happened with that Windows phone. You know? That
is definitely the case.
You know,
well, it has absolutely been an honor speaking with you both.
So get in touch with me, have your wife get in touch with me as well. I'm with Whitney Hall of Fame. You can just even put my name in.
I'll do that. I'll actually tell her we're going to stop for about a 10-minute lunch break, and I'll tell her to reach out to you.
Tell her to do that. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. ARush. Thank you so much for your input, and I look forward to speaking with you both soon.
Okay. Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And when you leave, if you'll click on the 3 buttons, you can actually click on Leave Class. Or if you'd like, you can just close the browser window.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. ARush. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
And Adam was saying that has to be, we're not going anywhere. The kid, You have to ask conquest. You have to get approved, you know? It's actually ready in hopes that my class is an MBA class.
Mhm.
That's where they think the MBAs have a lot of money, you know, those MBA graduate students. That's where they think it's gonna fit. My students sit at a table, all they care about is texting their girlfriend. It's basically breakout rooms,
Yeah,
but pretty. You understand? And
yeah.
that's all. And you know, Zoom can do that too.
Yeah.
That's what it's.
They're all struggling with what features to put in. Remember, PES and FES?
Yeah. But they have developers that can put something in and then they can exit. You know what I mean? Sell it to Zoom or sell it to Microsoft or
They're all hoping for the same thing.
same exit. You know what I mean? But they or sell it to Blackboard. You know? Sell it to Apple.
I did the search just now about FES and PES to see if anybody quoted us. Because this is what a lot of these people, the companies are struggling with, you
So he
know?
started 2 weeks ago. He's a salesman. He does polish up a sale. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And that kid is with the feedback. There's some kid that he has to write the contract. I'm not coming to your class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to check with conquest.
What is conquest?
That Swedish guy. He's in charge of the MBA.
Oh. Market.
What?
Is the big market there?
Yeah.
One
The
big,
salesman used to be selling some other product. So he
one
goes-
big pain in the ass, the Swedish guys.
Yeah.
Huh?
They're all like,
Yeah.
and the DJ isn't.
This article cited us many times. Companies working with process costing can produce a single or variety of product using separate or even the same facilities. They quoted us here.
Decision-making guide for management, profit by control. That witty, I can reuse, no?
Yeah.
If some instances, no? That's my name.
Interesting what these people pick up, which article. This article in managerial finance, which I wrote some things about
Remember they did a whole series of managerial things.
pass and fast.
That other one, at 2:30, another hour. Okay.
Hmm.
some salesmen said they're not salesmen. So I said, you better be a salesman or else your company won't exist.
It's publication.
What are you doing, Dr. Rick? What?
It's tough to be out there and try to sell something if you don't understand what you're selling.
Started 2 weeks ago. They basically, he's a good talker. He's a better talker than a kid. You know what I mean?
A lot of these educators are
He used-
hard, you know.
No, he used to work with probably one of those publishers, you know, like Pearson or something.
Yeah.
His wife looks like she's the one who comes with the money. Used to be an elementary school teacher. You know, getting a PhD online, you know,
And ask him what is his PhD about.
educational technology.
He couldn't even tell you that.
I didn't ask him so much. You know what I mean?
I want to show interest in him to start,
Oh, Avi, you're telling me what I need to do.
to get him to start talking.
Well, did you see that with his wife? And now all of a sudden, oh, she's into that. Oh, she was at that conference. Yeah. You know? What does it? Instructional design.
Okay, so now we're going to
So,
stop this recording. Just let me finish, please. So, sounds like a good idea, you know.
what?
It will take some time before it actually work. I want to find out if actually anything works there.
What? I can see it. It's not such a, it's another way, Avi.
Yeah.
It's Zoom with graphics. You understand? With tables. Instead of breakout rooms, they call it tables. You understand?
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything more. And it, you still need Blackboard. And then when I ask it, does it have attendance? Does it have a grade center? The guy barks at me and he says, oh, he goes, what, do you need another grade center from Blackboard?
Wow.
So they're gonna do, they have an LTI, Avi. And he didn't say the server, you don't, I guess you don't listen. He just basically said that in the future, there may be schools that want to host it themselves, like Blackboard. But now the thing is, universities and stuff like that, they don't want to host it, you know? So we host.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so now we want to stop and see how well it got recorded. I'm going to stop, don't upload, but play it back.
Okay, we're starting the Zoom session. The video file is listed above, and that will be today's date and time. So I'm going to copy it from yesterday's. We'll start with a text file.
It seems to be working well, so we'll record another video.
So today's the
It's fun.
3:26. We change it from 25 to 26. And the time now is 11 a.m. So this is 11.
The document.
And the topic today is engage, Engageli, or something like that. Okay, with this in mind, we're going to save it.
Time now is 1:13 p.m.
Insert the path and do it.
Yes.
You want to eat?
Yes.
You want to make you something?
I made your own.
You did? Where?
Oh, I guess I'll drink it.
Say, no, I'm willing to run also you.
You're cannot make
So
me
we're
anymore.
going to
I did, but it didn't come. So
Oh, what did you sign with the meetings? What do you mean? I didn't
yeah,
know
I'll
you
make
did
another
like-
one. How many do you want?
I would
One
like.
cup will be enough for
Yes,
you?
sir.
Okay.
So, Phil?
We will start the room recording.
When?
Start the pre-search.
Oh, it's a long time.
Now I want to start the Hangout. Zoom. So let's start the Zoom session. ARush, sign in. White phone. Send a push when you get the phone. Okay, and do a meeting. Schedule the meeting. Topic is going to be listed here, paste. Paste again here. Paste. I want to make sure that it doesn't exceed 100 characters, so we take the length. Make sure that it does not exceed 100 characters. Maybe 7 characters is fine. Can even add to it a few more characters. So let's add a few more characters. count how many characters can I add to this. It remains under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 12 characters more. We're in business. So my meeting will begin. How much is my meeting? Rush. Okay. So we got a good name here. First, I would scroll down. Alternative post to be this rush. So start this meeting. Which to be now start like YouTube. Go like too long. So to be that. Perfect. Remaining like that. I would go on that. I would take the previous one after to give it the comments. I would take the previous one. I would take the comments.
Okay, so we stop with that. And now we're going to test that loom. So we'll stop the loom, we'll get the loom hyperlink. And we'll start the playback in double speed.
Start the recording. Start the research. Now we'll start the hangout. Zoom. Let's start the Zoom session. Then we have to the comments. This year. Now we can go to Zoom. Video. ARush, sign in. White phone. Send the push to the phone. Okay, and we'll meet. Schedule a meeting. Talk to the list of your paste. Paste it in here. I want to make sure that it doesn't exceed 100 characters, so we'll take the length. Make sure that it does not exceed 100 characters. 87 characters is fine. You can even hit with a few more characters. Instead of a few more characters, count how many characters can I add to this. It remains under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 12 characters more. And we're in business. So my meeting will be how much I need to put a question. Okay, so we got a good name here. First, I'll scroll down. Alternative host should be after this. Watch. Save. Start this meeting. Now, so, right, we do. Watch. We'll go on it. Go on. Go to the end. Okay, I'll go on. Okay. I'll take a bit of time. Copy. Look at the comments. I'll look at the comments.
I want to find which room is in my email.
Just shut yourself down.
Okay, yeah, good.
I have to start
I'm
it.
trying to figure out to shut it down.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, I'll make you a note.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on a Zoom session.
A Zoom session for what?
Zoom session for today.
Why are you on a Zoom session?
ARush at MyMeeting.
Why are you in it?
Why should I'm on it?
Can I, here it is right here. So what do you want me to do
I
about it?
want you to close it, but gradually close one thing at a time. Don't